welcome back to Love Your Food. Today we're going to show you a really great easy recipe for beef briskets, shown here as part of a grits and brisket plate. We're going to use a couple of onions, celery, and a carrot as well, just to get started. And of course, a beautiful beef brisket. And we're going to leave the fat cap on there as well. And we're going to braise this to get it really nice and tender. So first things first, of course, here we have Chef Caleb. He's going to be adding a lot of salt and pepper to the top of that. You're always going to want to season all of your protein before it hits a pan. Meanwhile, we've got our cast iron getting very, very hot. We want to put this fat cap side down into a very, very hot cast iron. And you don't even need oil because a lot of it's going to render out of this. So it's going to hit the pan, big sizzle, and to get that in right away, make sure you got good contact with the cast iron there. And then, of course, on the other side, we are going to, again, salt and pepper. So a good sprinkling of kosher salt on the top there, and some pepper. And once that first side is well seared, we're going to flip it over and get that bottom side seared as well. And that's going to give it a great flavor, that caramelized fat on top. So we've got a couple onions here. We're just going to give them a rough chop. This is going to make some great flavor in our braising liquid. And we're not going to really be using much of the onions. This is mostly just for the beef. These onions are just for flavor, so you can just give them a really nice rough chop. Doesn't have to be too small or anything. It's all going to add flavor for the broth at the end. Now, if you have your own beef broth, by all means use it. But again, as we did with the Vietnamese chicken curry, we're just going to be using store-bought here again. So let's get that into a pot. A little bit of your favorite high smoke point oil, and get those onions sizzling in there. Next, we're going to chop up our other veggies as well. So we've got a stalk of celery and one pretty large carrot. Now, again, this is all going to be flavor. We're not going to be using it, so they don't need to be particularly precise or small. Just big, rough chop on those. And into the pot with your onions. Now, you want to make sure your pot's going to be big enough to hold your well-seared brisket. Nice and seared on both sides there. And into the pot it goes. Yeah, any remaining onion, just top that on top there. We have about 3 cloves in there, going in for flavor. A couple of bay leaves, give them a nice bruise and toss them in as well. And just about a tablespoon of whole black peppercorns as well. Now again, we are using store-bought stock this time. You can use your own stock, of course, but no problem using the store-bought. So first we're going to give a little deglaze to our cast iron, get some of that great flavor up, and the rest of it is going to go into the, well, most of the rest of it. Some of that splashing out. Most of the rest of that is going to go into the pot with the brisket. Meanwhile, we'll get all that nice flavor from the bottom of the pan here. Just give your cast iron a good scrape, and into the pot it goes. Now it's okay if your braisage liquid does not cover your beef. We're going to cover that with water, and you want to use hot water. You don't want to cool everything down, so make sure your water is warm before you put it in there. And you just want it right to the top of the beef. We want it to be basically submerged as much as we can, and we're going to cover that until it comes to the simmer. So just when bubbles are starting to show up at the top, you can see just at the edge there, we've got a couple of bubbles forming. You don't want it to boil hard or anything. Just barely boiling. Get it nice and hot. And here's where the tenderizing comes in. We want this to go into the oven, so make sure your pot is oven safe. This is going to go into the oven, preheated oven, about the middle rack. And it's going to be at the low temperature of 245, and it's going to go in there for almost 5 hours. Now what that's going to do is it's really going to transform all of the connective tissue in the beef right to gelatin. It's going to make it completely tender and absolutely delicious. So here we go, after our almost 5 hours. Look at that beautiful tender beef brisket. Now don't eat it right away. You're better off if you chill that overnight. You can pop that into the fridge once it's cooled down. If it's wintry outside like it was for us, just pop it outside overnight. Make sure it's well covered. Here we have it seared and on a brisket and pickle sandwich. Good Southern classic there. This is one of our favorites. It's absolutely delicious. You want to make sure when you use it, you slice it thick. Salt and pepper both sides and sear it really nicely in something hot, heavy bottom pan or cast iron. And you can use that for all sorts of different dishes. So that's our brisket recipe. Really super simple. Takes a long time, but it's not a whole lot of work, honestly. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. And if you have any recipes that you'd like to see us try, please let us know down in the comments. And remember, love your food.